Sometimes it feels like it though. I'm not famous, no, I'm not famous. Sometimes I do wonder what it's like though. Hey yo, alright. Welcome in everybody. How we all feeling? Welcome to the first episode of the JBP Podcast. Man, I'm actually really excited about this. Yeah, I am. I just had this idea, actually last night at work. Yes, my wife and I both work overnight shift stocking, and we've been doing that now for the past, almost 3 years. So yeah, we're on that overnight grind. And I get a lot of ideas while at work because I've got nothing else to really think about. But yeah, JBP Podcast, we're getting into it. It's just an idea, and I just want to do it, and that's how I've been doing this whole career now. Anyways, before we really get into it, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you so much for so far listening to Highest Heights album. And that whole adventure and watching the music videos and the feedback, and it's awesome. I love it, and one of my favorite albums so far. It definitely has its own feeling, own vibe, different from anything else previously, and that's just an adventure into my life as it continues and how I've been growing, and yeah, I really appreciate it. And if you keep sharing it around too, if you do that, or just continue listening to it and enjoying it, that's all it's for, is whoever hears it, just catch a vibe, have fun with it. Yeah, so thank you for that. So I wrote out a couple checkpoints, little notes on, I guess what I want to kind of cover on this. I don't know how long this might end up being, or if I'll do more of these. We'll just see how it goes. But I guess I'll start with like just a background of myself. I don't really feel like I've explained some of that in my music, but to those that haven't caught sort of the background story, I'll go ahead and briefly lay that out. Just a brief coverage of I guess my life. Born in Portland, Oregon, only there for like 3 years though, so I don't remember much of that. Then moved to Cali, bounced around there for like 12 years-ish. I remember bits of that, around the Fresno area actually, and then came up into Idaho. That part I would say I was more so raised in. That's what I remember more of, and coming into teenagehood, young adulthood, and at that point, let's see, high school, small little town, Wendell, just a little bit away from Twin Falls, Idaho, actually. If you know where that's at, it's south, I believe, of Boise, by just under 2 hours. That would be the big city that it was close to. High school, graduated high school, and then started college. Did a little bit of that, wasn't really feeling it. Around that time though, to give more detail, a girl had come into my life. Actually met her through work. We hung out, started dating for a bit. She actually took off north about 3 months into our relationship, and at that point she went to Idaho Youth Challenge Academy, if anyone knows that, actually. And at that point, for 5 months, we were just writing letters back and forth, which I was so pumped on each letter. And then after that, I was planning actually a whole proposal, and that ended up, God had a different plan for that, and it got stopped. Shortly after, we split ways, which completely devastated me and took me on a different path in life and broke me way down. And that's around that time, actually, when she took off originally up north while we were still together, that's when I started getting into producing and making music, because she had fired me up to just become a producer. I wanted to be a producer, and but then it took off when she left, and then I was in a very dark place, very upset, and put my energy even more and more into the music production, and that's essentially how Jonny Boi Productions, as you know it today, started. And I was putting out beats, trying to make beats. Nothing was really selling. Couple views. Nothing was really popping off, though. Of course, those beats were more garbage too, so I don't blame anybody. But then, because I wasn't getting any attention and I was impatient, I then posted up a video on Instagram. I wrote some lyrics and I kind of just went over it and let it fly, and that kind of blew up more than all my beats. And so I was like, oh, is this a thing? Started writing some more, doing some little freestyles and stuff. And that kind of got some traction. Of course, I sounded way more immature, and I was quiet, not confident at all, but I was doing it. And that started the artist journey, and I started putting together actual songs and trying that out, and then put out my first few singles, and then an album, started the Glory to God series, which that has 2 projects in it, and then a few other albums. And now today, that was all started in 2018, and so throughout the time to now, put out 5 albums. Just dropped my last album, Highest Heights, as I mentioned at the beginning, and yeah, it's been a great journey. I've created a lot of good stuff, in my opinion, and a lot of classic records and stuff that you can really dive into. And sure, maybe not all the flows are the best. Beats sometimes are kind of corny or whatever, but there's a story there, and I'm proud of that story and the growth in the music. For a few years, that darkness was going with music production. Sorry, this might be kind of jumpy around, but I like the rough script and just being honest with everybody. And then I started, I was bouncing around with jobs and stuff, landed one at Gold's Gym there in Twin Falls. That is where I met my now wife, Sydney Westra. And baby, I love you to death. You are amazing, and life is so amazing with you. I'm so glad we found each other, and that past relationship didn't exist, and you have your own little trash to talk on that. But no, I love you. Thanks for making my life amazing, for this life amazing. I thank God for you. Love you to death. Yeah. And we met, started hanging out, kicking it, started dating then. And then about, I think it was a year later, I proposed up at her parents' house in Caldwell. And that was a great time, and we got married. Just a nice little wedding there in Twin Falls. And literally that same weekend, this was in end of July, same weekend, we took off over here to Utah and started our own life journey together. I found our dog Nebula a couple weeks in, because we just decided to go for it. We both love animals, and we were like, we want a dog, and why not? So as we were still getting settled in here, brought in Nebula. She's been great, awesome. And yeah, that's essentially, I'd say, the rough layout of this story. So into now this podcast, and I guess what inspired it, because I feel like that would be a question some people would ask, is like, okay, you're putting out music, and now you're starting a podcast. What's that all about, and why are you doing that? And it's honestly, the idea came to me where I've just been lately very observant of other artists and the business and bigger independent artists, and I'd say quote unquote smaller ones, and scrolling through YouTube and looking at other beat makers and just the whole kind of community that I'm seeing, and even as I've been getting my own live reactions, and just a lot of stuff, a lot of emotions recently have been stirring in me since this album as well, where I feel like there's nobody really doing it, nobody sharing their experience from this point, where I would say I'm at right now, where I've got a very small fan base, but it's loyal, growing very, very slowly, maybe a new listener a year type of numbers. I mean, some views on YouTube, under 100 though. Some of them do have over 100, but they've been out for a couple years. So just still here, very low, but I'm satisfied, and that's a perspective I'm coming from. I feel I make good music. I have a story, a theme. I know how to produce. I know how to do all this stuff, and yet it's still very small. But I've got the experience, and I've been sharing that with other friends as they've been wanting to get started, and yeah, it was just a category I felt I could reach into here and share with everyone. Maybe pretty roughly. I don't know where this will go. Maybe bring in other people in the future, and just share from a fully independent, solo produced artistry perspective. Because I do make literally all of this myself. Everything you hear, everything you see, aside from getting help from videographers, which has only been my brother, another friend way back in the beginning. He shot a video for me, and then now my wife, as she's been shooting videos. But then I take them in, I edit, I mix everything, I put it out, I produce the beats. I mean, I take melodies that I find, because I don't really have anything to make good melodies with. So I do pull in melodies, but other than that, I put in the drums, I mix it, and then I go and upload it onto an online mastering thing, because I've never locked down mastering, but maybe I can do that in the future. So aside from a couple assists, it's just me. It's all me. And so there's, that's what really inspired this whole podcast, is me just wanting to share perspective from that side of things, because it's tough, but you can do it, and you can definitely do it. And I know there's people out there just like me, but no one's sharing from that perspective. Right. So that leads me into my next thing of like who I'm in competition with. And I wanted to bring that up as well, is from the big name label artists, even to who you hear from independent artists, they have teams though, especially the label ones. On those big major labels, they get deals signed, and then but then they have teams behind them, people who help them co-write their music, who help them produce the tracks, bring in ideas, bring in features, link up with other people, and get promoters, and pay for ads, and help set up shows and stuff, and set up interviews, all these things. Even down to your independent artists, they have teams too, where all I've seen from independent artists sharing is they are big. They've made it. They've made a living now in music as well. They've got hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners on Spotify, and they have teams helping them. They have managers. They have help with production. They find other beats, which is all dope. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just giving a perspective from me, who's doing it solo, to all those other people out there who are doing the same thing, but I don't see anybody talking about it to help each other in that realm. And I'm happy to put this out for free too, because I've made very little income. I mean, it's a couple dollars every few months, if that, off of streaming and stuff. And so I've brought in no income. I'm not here for that though. I'm here to just put out love, put out knowledge, share my experience, because I don't see anyone doing that. And so, I'm running out of words here. yeah, it's a tough game, definitely is, but it's doable. And I saw this video even the other day from an independent artist where he compared his name. What was his name? I totally forgot his name, but an artist on YouTube, and he's put out some political stuff, like music, very controversial, just thought-provoking stuff that triggers a lot of people. But he put out a pop song, and normally he's a rapper, but he put out a pop song and it hit the charts, blew up, and he then did a little video where he compared his number 2 song to the number 1 song by Sam Smith, Unholy, and he was like, and he looked at the writers for it, the credits and everything, and there was like 16 writers, 16 producers, a whole big label, bunch of money behind it, and it got to number 1. And Sam Smith is, again, a great artist, but all these people behind him doing that compared to this independent artist who it was just him writing it, just him producing it, just him putting it out. It's him. And I thought that was dope, and that's a huge look into this music industry that a lot of people maybe don't realize, and that's why you gotta also hugely support your independent artists, because all these big name artists, they're there, they have the backing for it and stuff, but then us independent artists, you are our support. That's how we get the numbers up, and it's from you guys, and we need that support from you to push it. But again, for me, I'm doing this out of the joy of it, and that's something I've come to realize too after putting out 5 albums and not getting a huge fan base like some people do. There's a lot of us out here that have very little fan base, and you got to do it for the joy of it. You really do, and because you probably won't see quote unquote success for a long time, or if at all. And so you gotta have the enjoyment in it, and love it for the craft, and do it mostly for yourself, honestly. Like, if you love it, do it, put it out. Other people can enjoy it, but for you to go back, because for me, I feel the joy in that, and I'm able to go back, listen to my music all through my albums, and like, oh shoot, this is my own story coming out here, and I can go back and I'm like, oh, this is dope. I dig this. I did really well, I think, and sure, it's not blown up, but it's my story. I like to go back, listen, have good memories. It's awesome. I dig it. Next, I'd say going into a little breakdown of Highest Heights, and I have no idea how long we're honestly even at right now, but I'm going to keep going. Breakdown of this last album. I apologize if there's little poppies going on with my talking. I don't have the pop filter over my mic right now, so there might be some pops with certain words. I apologize for that. But Highest Heights, a couple little things I wanted to hit on. Was the main feeling that kicked off the creation of the project, and easiest song to write and produce, and the hardest song to write and produce, because I see that tends to be a common questions. So I'd say the feeling that kicked off the project recently, I've been listening into just as I've been growing and developing, and within this marriage, and where we're at in Utah, and the views, and what we want to do in the future, my wife and I, and I don't know, just the whole feeling around it all. I've gotten more into listening into country music, and a couple months ago, was it a couple months ago? Maybe like a month ago. I could be so wrong on that. Either a couple months or a month ago. Oh no, it was my birthday. Right. Okay. So beginning of January, went up to my wife's parents' place up in Caldwell, and we visited my parents first for a day, night into the day, and then went up there to Caldwell for a couple days. And we ended up having a campfire, and we had some beers and whiskey and music going on, and it was just the whole vibe that I enjoyed, and just sort of that country-esque. You're out there with boots on, and you got jeans, and it's cold weather, beanie, and that whole vibe, wearing some flannels, and just having a good time. And that feeling, I'd say, really is where this album came from. Is just having a good time with your family, and sorry, I had a little burp backed up there. And enjoying life to its fullest, and being out in nature, and the crackle of the fire, and you hear the music pumping and stuff like that. I loved it, and that's kind of what I wanted to give off. Maybe you can feel a little bit of that when you do listen to the project. It was just a fun one to work on. Came back and got the idea and did it in like a week, just over a week. Couple little things that pushed it over a week, but that it really came together in about a week, and it felt awesome. Now, if I spent more time, it probably could have been even better, but I was just so excited to get it out and put out this vibe that I went for it, did it, and it felt right. That was the biggest part, was it felt right. Felt good, so I went for it. And then, let's see, the easiest song to write and produce on this. Oh, why I'm blanking out now. But honestly, let me take a look back at the track list here. I know the hardest one to write actually was Best Friend, about my wife, oddly enough, because she's who I'm with all the time, and I feel I have the most content with that. But for some reason, that ended up being the last one. That was the last song written. Actually, Proud was, but that was a replacement for another track. So that did come at the last second. But overall, Best Friend was the last one to write. That was the hardest to write. I wasn't in that mode at the time. I wasn't in like the Love Dove R&B-ish kind of mode. But then when I did start writing it, it just came to me. Of course, the easiest one, let's see. Oh, this is actually tough. They're all pretty even, honestly. Maybe Faded. I'd say Faded. That one kind of came together pretty quick. Wife and I were having a night off and just kicking it, drinking a little bit. And that one came back to me around. That inspiration came back, and I wrote it real quick, put it together because I had the beat made up, and I was like, oh, this is dope. All right, let me try some effects here. I think I laid down actually a melody first and went for it. And that was probably the easiest one, I'd say. They're all pretty even, but written, again, at overnight at work on some breaks and stuff. I would just be thinking, and, oh, that's a lyric. Oh, that's a lyric. Oh, that's a lyric. Oh, that's a concept. That's a lyric. Cool, let me write it, you know? And yeah, so again, Best Friend was the last one written. Most difficult. Still don't really know why, but it is what it is. These songs just come when they come. And then Faded was the easiest one. So yeah. Some couple highlights of the album. Oh yeah, so that takes me into wanting to address Grand, and I on album release day, of course I was all hyped up, high energy. Wife and I both were. We were jamming to the album here back at home and over the speaker, and a guy I've been watching on YouTube for a while now, actually a few years, couple years, probably 2 years now. And then recently I started, he's been Twitch streaming live, doing a bunch of music reactions and gaming, stuff like that. And I've been supporting him for a while now. And I love his energy. I love his vibe. He breaks down a lot of good stuff. But he tends to do the bigger name stuff. And so my album just dropped, and I was pushing I hopped right onto his stream. I was like one of the first viewers. He normally gets anywhere from 50 to like 100, couple hundred viewers. But anyways, jumped in, and the grand video was the latest one that premiered, and I felt that was the best looking one, and I thought it was fire, and I was all excited, and I still think it's fire, and so I was pushing for it, and I was commenting. Just normally I don't spam anybody. I rarely comment at all, actually, but right now I was excited, and I wanted to be seen, because I know I'm like a nobody in the scene, and so I started just kind of commenting every few comments. I was like, yo, I just dropped an album, because he's like, it was for New Music Friday, but he didn't feel anything was really out. He didn't see anything, and so he was wanting just some input. And so I was like, yo, I dropped my album. Yo, I dropped an album. Hey, Grand, JB, YouTube. And this was every few comments. I don't think I was being too pushy right off the bat, but he wasn't acknowledging any of my comments. He was reading everyone around them. I noticed he'd read the top one, the one below it, and I don't know. That could just not be his fault, to where he just wasn't seeing it. But in my opinion, as a content maker and a streamer and stuff, I have streamed myself. I think he was kind of just ignoring it for I don't know what reason, but so I started getting a little more pushy. I made my comments faster. I wanted to get in there, and I was starting to be a little stubborn. And then he finally acknowledged it, and he was like, yeah, Jonny, we'll get to it. My username on Twitch is Jonny Boi Production, or yeah, Jonny Boi PROD. So he's addressed me a few times, Jonny. He's like, yeah, we'll get to it. And I was like, all right. So I let it breathe for a bit. And then I believe I said it again a couple more times, because he kept playing songs besides mine when I was one of the first requests, right? And so that kind of bugged me. Even my wife was like, hey, what? He should have already like played it. He should have acknowledged this already and done it. And I'm like, yeah. And so I was like, should I comment more and kind of just annoy him low key until I just get acknowledged here? She's like, yeah, do it, honestly. So I did it. I did like 2 comments back to back, and he's like, and I said, sorry for spamming though, I'm just trying to get seen. And he's like, yeah, well then why are you still doing it? But then he a minute later was like, all right, I'm forgetting what everyone's asking for. So then I put it back in the chat, and then finally he's like, okay, all right, Jonny, we'll pull it up. What is it? And I kept saying JB Grand on YouTube, because I wanted the music video to go with it, because I felt that whole production was great, right? To give it off. And so he brought it up, and one of his moderators, you can have moderators in Twitch to where they kind of keep the chat or whatever, what's the word? Maintained, I guess. Calm down type of thing. They can put limits on the chat. They can, they also provide information and links and stuff like that. Anyways, and right after he's like, all right, we're doing this, pulled it up, which it was not the video. I don't know what happened there. Maybe he just did it on Spotify or whatever, but that kind of bugged me, because I was like, no, the video on YouTube, there's a video for it. Anyways, pulled up the song. One of his moderators was like, Jonny, you asked for this, and put like, it was like a laughing little thing. And I was like, okay, what? And they started playing it, and he's like, oh, is this you? Because the album cover pulled up. And I was like, yeah. And they started listening to it, and immediately I could see in his face he wasn't into it. He felt like it was a slow everyone. And then a couple comments were like, oh, your flow, you need to study more flows. And he's like, yeah, this is very already sounding robotic. And the production, you can't just have these simple things like this. Beat's not bad overall, but if you produce this all yourself or whatever, that's cool. But he didn't even let the track play all the way through, and that was that. But he gave a little bit of feedback. I was just excited that it got played in the moment, but that really ate at me, because I just felt I've been supporting him for a while. I'm sure he's noticed. I gamed with him on COD, because he he had a stream where he invited some of the viewers into that. I didn't have my mic on, but I played with him. I've supported him. I've been very cool. And then he kind of treats it like that, where I'm the startup artist, and he like barely gave me the time of day, and that kind of upset me a little bit. And so that was another part of inspiration where I don't want to be like that. That's not a cool vibe. And it kind of turned me off on him. To where I'm like, yo, I'm just trying to get my stuff out here. You were asking for suggestions. I was one of the first ones. You kind of pushed me off, and then when you finally did, you didn't really give it the time of day, where I've heard you listen to other tracks like this and you thought it was fire. And that's another part of where it's like, if you have zero following at all, you're going to be very overlooked no matter how good production sounding you are. And that's just the case sometimes, is you won't get a second look. They won't see the vision at all. And that just happens, and it sucks, and it really tore me down for a couple days. I thought it didn't, but it did, and it ate at me, and that's where part of the passion side too, where I was like, I just want to prove him wrong. I want to give him a different song to listen to, and I want to apologize for spamming, but I feel there's better songs I have. But I don't think that'll probably end up happening. Maybe I can tune into another one of his streams and bring it back up, but I don't think he's going to be one that I'll impress, and it is what it is. But that brings this inspiration out in me now, where I want to engage with artists like that, producers, creators, whatever it is, entrepreneurs, whatever you're doing with your business, and engage with you and be like, hey, yo, I know you're struggling and fighting for your spot, and I'm here for you, and I want you to keep going, and I want to support you, and I want you to do it. Because I'm in that same spot with you, and I want to put that out. I want to put out the love and help you out with what I can, if I can. But you also got to do it too. If you do really want to do it, you will do it. But I'm here to support you, and sometimes it takes time. It does, but you can do it for sure. Don't let other people drag you down, put you down, whatever it is, discourage you. Definitely let those emotions ride out for a bit. Use that as passion, as an energy, but don't let it tear you all the way down to where you stop creating, because you will probably get a lot of that for a while. And then you'll have your main supporters, and you focus on that and keep that energy in there. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of the overall concept of this pod, and I hope this was maybe some entertainment for you, some insight into this whole world over here that I got going on, and that I'm sure a lot of other creators do have going on, because it's a lot of people don't know what goes into this, and it's hard. But I want to express that and shed some light on it. I just remember another thing where, as promotion, some extra promotion for myself, I had an idea of going onto YouTube and looking at rap beats, and I started seeing, I'll get to the main point here in a second, but I started seeing a few other people commenting, like, hey, check out my channel, this and that sort of idea. And so I was like, oh, okay, people do that. And so then I started going on to rap beats, and I just went to recently uploaded, and I started commenting. I would listen to that beat, give my own little feedback in a positive way, tell them to keep going, but then also say, if you got a chance, please check out my channel, my YouTube channel, and yeah, go give it a listen. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, keep going, man. You got this. Then I went to even more recently upload date. I put a filter on, and so then it actually gave me stuff within the past day or hours, and with 15 views, 10 views, 4 views, 100 views, no comments, couple likes, and that's when I felt I really started impacting and putting comments onto that to reach them early and and really give inspiration and motivation to these. Maybe they're up and coming, or maybe their video just hasn't gotten the amount of views yet, but it will. Oh, excuse me, that was a burp. But I was doing that, and that's just an energy I want to put out. And I hope that all makes sense. And thank you for listening to this. Yeah, I appreciate it. I hope it helps, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Definitely continue listening to the Highest Heights Project. I appreciate all the listens on that, and I'm excited for what comes next. I'm excited for this podcast. Yeah, I'm excited for it all. It's cool. Things are happening. I'm feeling inspired in a lot of ways, and I just want to keep putting out this type of stuff, putting out this energy. I love you all. You can do it. Whatever you're going through, it'll pass. That's a quote I've heard recently where, it was a little clip. It was an actor. I forget his name. Oh, he's in, I want to say it's the actor from Castaway. Why am I blanking on his name? If you want to leave a comment of his name, that's great. But yeah, where he was like, this too shall pass, whether you're on a high, right? Or in a very deep low, like either way, it will pass. And that's not to sound depressing on the upbeat way, but it all keeps going. Everything keeps flowing. You got this. Just keep on pushing. Keep going. I'm here for you. Believe me, you got this. I love you. Have a great day. And I'll catch you later. Catch you on the socials or wherever you want to contact me at, man. I appreciate it. Peace, y'all.
I'm not famous, no. I'm not famous. Sometimes it feels like it though. I'm not famous, no. I'm not famous.